We Don't Talk About Bruno has reached number 1 on the US Billboard charts, beating out previous Disney hit song Let It Go from Frozen. Now, regardless of whether you like the song or not, this is a good thing. Well, hopefully, anyway. Especially when you remember that Let It Go was Disney's biggest hit for the longest time. I mean, not the longest time. I don't know what their biggest hit was for the longest time was, but you know what I mean. Disney had a big problem with music during and after the Renaissance. I mean, imagine all the memorable songs from The Little Mermaid up to Tarzan. You've got a lot of them, but there was always that one song. That one song that I'm going to dub Disney's obvious hit song that they want to be the hit song because it's obvious song. Whew! Nailed it. You know the type. These are usually the songs that get the big production and have the big pop recording from some big name pop star. A Whole New World, Beauty and the Beast, Part of Your World, Can You Feel the Fucking Love Tonight? And while none of these songs are bad, except for Can You Feel the Love Tonight, that song makes me ill, you can't deny that they were meant to be the big hits of their respective films, and this problem really became apparent when it hit Tarzan, where they just had Phil Collins sing every song. This is why people only seem to remember Trash in the Camp from the soundtrack. It was the only song not to be sung by Phil Collins, and I like the Tarzan soundtrack fine, but it was the worst example of Disney trying to force a big hit song. I bet they do this. I bet they probably did this because they realized that people liked Hakuna Matata and Savages more than the songs that were most likely meant to be the hits from those movies, but I wouldn't know. I wasn't there. Then the 2010s rolled around. Well, actually, the 2000s rolled around where a lot of movies either had just one song or had their soundtrack full of contemporary music, but the 2010s rolled around where we got the more traditional Disney musical again, and the problem only seemed to get magnified, especially with the release of Frozen. Frozen is the biggest example of this because it is the perfect example of this. Love it or hate it, Let It Go was the biggest song in Frozen because it seemed to be the only memorable one. The only other memorable one was Kristoff's joke song about reindeers, and that song was shit. Let It Go showed that you could have a movie full of mediocre songs, and the one good one will become popular. Except it didn't seem to work, because not many Disney songs afterwards have seemed to surpass or even reach Let It Go in terms of popularity. Until We Don't Talk About Bruno. We Don't Talk About Bruno is a step in the right direction for Disney because it is the first Disney film since The Nightmare Before Fucking Christmas where Disney hasn't attempted a massive, obviously meant to be a popular hit single. The closest I can think of in this movie is Dos Oruguitas. Nailed it. Wow. Quite possibly the least memorable song in the movie. It was so downplayed and so shoved into the background that every time I remember the scene, I remember it in silence, no music at all. When you think back onto the entire Encanto soundtrack, did any particular song stand out like a Let It Go or a Can You Feel the Love Tonight? To me, none of them did, and I am hoping that Disney takes this as a lesson that you can't force a popular hit song, and Lost in the Woods was shit garbage. Anyway, the popularity of We Don't Talk About Bruno is either a really good thing that will put Disney in the right direction, or it is a fluke, and Disney will try to make another I'm Still Here, and if you don't remember that song, you need to rewatch Treasure Planet again. Like you need an excuse to do that.